Hello, my name is Leslie Roth, and I am a member of the May 30th Alliance. Let me get these headphones right real quick, y'all. Hello, my name is Leslie Roth, and I'm a member of the May 30th Alliance. The May 30th Alliance is a direct action organization located in Rockford, Illinois, dedicated to the struggle to end police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice in Winnebago County. The May 30th Alliance began an occupation of the City Hall in Rockford, Illinois on October 3rd, 2020, after on October 2nd, 2020, Tyrus Jones, an unarmed black man, was gunned down in the streets of Rockford, Illinois by Rockford Police Department Officer Dominic McNeese. Our occupation of the City Hall in Rockford, Illinois continued through the end of November, when Rockford Police Department Officer Dominic McNeese would be found to be justified in the attempted murder of Tyrus Jones and be sent out to endanger the community once again. Our occupation of the City Hall will continue through January 5th, 2021, when Denzel Duvant, another unarmed black man, will be assaulted mercilessly at the hands of the Rockford Police Department by multiple officers, one of those officers including Rockford Police Department Officer Dominic McNeese, who just months earlier had been found justified in the attempted murder of Tyrus Jones. There will be no investigation into the assault, the merciless assault of Denzel Duvant, and there will be no reprimand or any penalties given to the participants of the assault of Denzel Duvant. Our occupation will continue through April 10th, 2021, when Faustin Guaytigo will be murdered inside of his home by Winnebago County Sheriff Deputy Joseph Brulard. Winnebago County Sheriff Deputy Joseph Brulard would shoot Faustin Guaytigo upwards to 8 times inside of his home, killing him in front of his wife and children. Our occupation will continue when no more than 24 hours later, on April 11th, 2021, Jose Gonzalez Jr. will be shot by Rockford Police Department Officer Owen McGinnis while he was running away in the streets of Rockford, Illinois. Our occupation will continue through April 25th, 2021, when Raymond Jackson would die in a high-speed pursuit that took place in the streets of Rockford, Illinois, after Rockford Police Department officer would chase someone with a warrant, leading to them crashing into the car that Raymond Jackson was driving, killing Raymond Jackson and critically injuring the children that were in the car with Raymond Jackson. And so in about a 1 week and a half ago, actually about 2 weeks ago at this point, the murder of Faustin Guaytigo was found to be justified by Winnebago County State's Attorney Jay Hanley. So we want to say justice for Faustin Guaytigo, justice for Raymond Jackson, justice for Jose Gonzalez Jr., justice for Tyrus Jones, and justice for Denzel Duvant. We want to bring awareness to each of these cases of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice, with the realization that there may be some people who have understanding and empathy for Jose Gonzalez Jr., but may not have it for Faustin Guaytigo, and they may have it for Denzel Duvant and may not have it for Tyrus Jones. And it becomes our responsibility at the point in which a person has empathy and understanding for one of these instances of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice, for us to extrapolate out how each and every act of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice directly and indirectly affect the other, and how each one of us as community members of Rockford, Illinois, are directly and indirectly affected by police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. And here, let me move to try to get this a little bit more even for us. All right, it has been one hell of a week. I probably shouldn't say that too early. We still got what time is it? About 12 o'clock? We still got about at least 24 hours left in a week. We got about 24 hours and 15 minutes left in a week, so I maybe should wait to say it's been one hell of a week till we get this last day out the way. But this has definitely been one for the records. We have been out here for about 49 weeks now, and this is definitely at the number one of the craziest weeks. So, as people who have been following along with these, with the May 30th Alliance through the past 336 days and through the past year and a month or year and a couple months since the organization has been in existence, we have been waging a struggle in Rockford, Illinois, and in Winnebago County against police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. That struggle began for the May 30th Alliance about a month after the events of May 30th, and the events of May 30th were that the first Saturday after George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis, over 1,000 people from this community gathered to the streets and marched to District 1. And it should be noted that the people who gathered in the streets from this community, they gathered to be in solidarity with Minneapolis and to be in solidarity with George Floyd and George Floyd's loved ones, but they also gathered to be in solidarity with Jovan Fresco's loved ones and for being in solidarity with the people still struggling for justice for Jovan Fresco and for Mark Barmore and Logan Bell and Kerry Blake. And even though in the multitude of names of and the multitude of people who have been dealt the same fatal blow as George Floyd was dealt in Minneapolis here in Rockford, Illinois. And so after people gathered on May 30th, the police would attack, would maim and maul members of the community that were outside of District 1. It would be captured on film. Excuse me, sorry, I got a little eyes there. It's probably not the best thing aesthetically for the camera. But multiple people, hundreds of people would be assaulted and would be beat by the Rockford Police Department, would be pepper sprayed, would be tear gas, would be tased. And then the days after that, there would be die-in demonstrations, and the weeks after that, there would be die-in demonstrations, and there would be other organizations that would take the forefront on the struggle. And the May 30th Alliance would be forged in the months after May 30th happened. And since the forging of the May 30th Alliance has been adamant and vigilant about bringing awareness and changing the consciousness of the community when it comes to the issues of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. And as anybody who is versed in the history of American politics and the history of American activism knows that there are certain things that come along with deciding to wage a struggle against police terrorism, deciding to wage a struggle against mass incarceration, deciding to wage a struggle against racial injustice. There are things that come along with that, just as someone who is a boxer has certain side effects that will come along with boxing 12 rounds and training and practicing for boxing, and someone with football will have the side effects for taking so many hits and so on and so forth for a multitude of different professions. You can illustrate this, you can extrapolate this out too, but there are certain things that come along with activism in this country. There are certain things that come along with activism in this society. There are certain things that come along with freedom fighting, with struggling in this society. And one of those things is being imprisoned and being jailed, and we have experienced that, and that has been something that has been seen for the city and the county, and as the recent events have unfolded and have displayed for the world to see what it is that we are experiencing when it comes to the false imprisonment of activists and the false imprisonment of protesters in Rockford, Illinois, that is going on. And again, that has historically been a part of the society when people have struggled in the manner in which we have. And we have also seen the criminalization that has taken place, the stigmatization that has taken place, that the Rockford Police Department and the city of Rockford and the county of Winnebago and the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies have done. And they've implemented it through media manipulation. They've implemented it through social media manipulation. They've implemented it through propaganda, both online and in person. And they've implemented it through a host of other divisive tactics. And again, historically, that has been something that has come along with freedom fighting and with struggling and with activism, is that the people who are benefited and behooved by the status quo attempt to criminalize and stigmatize the people who are trying to struggle against that status quo, who are trying to change that status quo, who are trying to progress the society. Another thing that comes along with activism and freedom fighting and struggling in the manners in which we have is your physical well-being being threatened. your life being in danger. And again, none of these things are ideal or what anybody will desire as side effects to a profession or not profession. I don't know if that's the right word, but side effects to work, to doing certain work. I think that is a better way to describe this. Is it's a certain work that needs to be done, and we're doing that work, and this is a side effect to that work, and nobody enjoys the side effect. Just like nobody enjoys being falsely imprisoned and falsely arrested. Just like nobody enjoys having their character challenged on social media and on independent media and mass media, and nobody enjoys their life being at risk or a chance of being in physical harm. But those are the things that come with this. And again, it should be noted that the people that we are advocating for, the people that we are trying to get justice for, these are people who have dealt with violent ends. These are people who have, even the people who have survived it, even though they've survived it, they still dealt with this toll of violence that has been dealt to them, and that it's a traumatizing toll of violence. And so it should be noted that all the things that we are currently experiencing and that we have been experiencing since the inception of the May 30th Alliance are things that the people we advocate for were experiencing long before we were. And they have loved ones, and they themselves have persevered and struggled through those experiences. And so it is our responsibility and our duty as well to continue to struggle through the things that and the hurdles and the roadblocks that come our way, to be in solidarity with the people who have struggled before us, and to trailblaze for the people who will struggle after us. And so, with that being said, as we were outside of the trial for Antar, who was having a bench trial, the first protester that was arrested in the year of 2020 in the struggle against police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice, to go to trial. He's the first one to go to trial. It was a bench trial. We were outside of the Justice Center. As we were waiting outside the Justice Center for the trial to end, or as the trial went on inside of the Justice Center, we set up our table and our camera, and we went live from Occupy City Hall, just at a different location. And we commentated through the trial. We commentated on the things that took place on the day in which he was arrested, and we commentated on the overall connotations that the trial has for all of us who are involved in this struggle. And again, this is a video that can be found on live, and this is not something that's abnormal for us to have done. We came out there at 3:30. Antar's trial was set. Well, we began filming at 3:30. Antar's trial was set for 3 o'clock, I believe. And around 5:30, again, this is an estimated time and it's not an exact time. We do not know the exact time in which these events took place. But around 5:30, there was a shooting. This shooting was captured on Facebook Live as it took place. I was seated in front of the camera. Terry was behind the camera. Ari was to the side of the camera, and then there was a community member who was lower, sitting down, sort of viewing the live that we were doing, and just there watching. And so shots rang out. The first cluster of bullets, it was two shots initially. One of the first cluster of bullets flew by Terry's head. He could, as I was watching the live, I could see Terry's reaction as the bullet flew by his face. I could also hear the bullet tearing through the air as it flew past Terry. And as these things happened, again, my reaction is caught on camera and is filmed. And I was trying to figure out where the shooting was coming from. I didn't see an individual directly near me. I also knew that the gunshots were so loud that it had to be in close proximity. And I also knew that I had just heard the bullet that had tore through the air by Terry. So I continued to try to, as quickly as possible, take a a lay of the land and see if I seen anybody or seen any cars or anybody shooting, and figure out which way that they were shooting from, and try to get in the opposite direction. And by the time that whole process happened, about about 2 or 3 more shots had went off and through all that, and then eventually I see Terry is getting down on the ground, and then I hear the last shot of the cluster of 7 ring off, and when the last shot rings off, I've seen that nobody has been hit, and I realize I have not been hit myself. The bullet hits the ground, ricochets off the ground, and then smacks against the leg of the table. Once I hear the whizzing of it flying to the table or to the ground, and then the clink of it hitting the table, I take off, and Ari takes off as well. As at that point we know where the bullets are coming from, in the hopes to ensure that if another cluster was coming, we would not get hit by it. We took off. And so all of these things have been captured on camera. They've been making their rounds through these past couple of days. This was an event that took place on Tuesday. They've been making their rounds around social media. They've been making their rounds around mass media. The police would put out a report the next day in coordination with the city. This report would read. Let me see 1 second. I just want to read the exact wording from the report instead of doing a guess of what it is. So just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to pull it up. Okay, this report can be found on the Rockford Police Department's Twitter page. I'm not sure if it's on their Facebook page or any other of their social media sites. Okay, this is released in coordination with. This is released in coordination with the Rockford Police Department and with the City of Rockford. On Tuesday, August 31st, 2021, at approximately 5:45 p.m., Rockford Police Department officers responded to 650 West State Street Justice Center for reports of shots fired. Upon arrival, officers met with the caller, who advised that while they were in front of the Winnebago County Justice Center, they heard gunshots and then viewed a bullet fragment lying on the ground next to them. The fragment was picked up by another individual and given to the officers. Witnesses on the scene were uncooperative in the investigation. Simultaneously with the above shots fired occurrence, the Rockford Police Department was notified of a suspected road rage incident where the victim advised that as a vehicle passed them on Avon Street, just north of West State Street, they observed the front passenger waving a black handgun towards their vehicle. The individual advised that the front seat passenger shot approximately 4 times as they passed. The vehicle was struck twice on the driver's side, and a bullet fragment was also located in the rear driver's side passenger floorboard. Okay, so that is the official statement from the City of Rockford and the Rockford Police Department. Should also be noted that there is a. Let me see. Excuse me. Let's see. Hold on 1 second. There's also a video online. I'm not sure how many people have seen it, but of someone else who says that they were shot at around the same time as us, or at the same time as us. This is a video. This picture and video. I'm not sure how many rounds this has gotten, or how many people have seen this. But this is a man who says that he shares the video of us outside the Justice Center, and he says, "The same shooting downtown, how many rounds do you count?" He's got a few comments and a few shares. And it just shows us sort of, it's our video, it's just him commentating as our video is running. And apparently he is the person who is the 5:33 call, and he has pictures on his page of the vehicle description as well, the white car with the black tires, black rims, then a picture of his car, the bullet holes in his car. And so that's something that we'll put that on our page and share that too, so people can see that from our page. So this is sort of one of the places that we stand at, and again we've always leaned into transparency here, as we always will, because this is something that is bigger than any of us individually, and even organizationally. We're a piece of something that if we do our jobs correctly, and if we do our work correctly, will lead to more people and more organizations. And so it is, again, we are a piece of something bigger than ourselves. So that is the reason. And again, this was already caught on camera. I want to emphasize that this was something that was caught on camera. This is not something, it happened in real time, and people were able to view it and see it in real time. A major portion of what it is that we do here is filming and having things happen in real time and having our reaction to them in real time, in an effort to, in real time, to educate people. And so I believe that this has been a perfect example of that, just like everything that has happened in these last 333 days. Another example of the society that we live in, another example of the way these institutions in the city work. And so I say all those things to say that we don't know what happened, or 100% what happened. We have pieces here and pieces there of the event. It is, for anybody who has been keeping up with the events and the experiences of the May 30th Alliance, it is hard to believe that this shooting took place and that we just happened to be in the area, and that this is some type of coincidence or some type of irony. And that is one of the things that has been sort of unsaid on some of the news reports or some of the news releases. And we'll read through the WREX, WIFR, State Line News, and our Star News releases here a little bit later. But let me see. Hold on real quick. How you doing? How you doing tonight?
Good. How you guys
Doing all right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it came at the same time. That's a super coincidence, ain't it? I mean, he's had his hand in his hoodie pocket the whole time. All right. So again, it's hard for anybody who's been keeping up with these things. It's hard to believe this is some type of coincidence or some type of irony. Again, anybody who even watches the video and who has kept up with some of the stories and the manner in which they've come out, it's hard to believe that that this is coincidence or irony. And again, I want to emphasize that we did not, the May 30th Alliance, or as an organization, and the members of the organization were not the ones who called the police at the Justice Center. It was a community member who called the police department. Again, me personally, if all the times that my life has been put in danger and has been put in risk in the past 15 months, the institution of policing has been at the center of it. The Rockford city government has been at the center of it. The Winnebago County government has been at the center of it. They have conspired and colluded at every turn to suppress and repress our rights to freedom of speech, our rights to organize and assemble, our rights to petition our government. And so I do not feel comfortable or very trustworthy of an institution which I have, or institutions plural, which I have seen either enact or be complicit and enable the pepper spraying of children, the assaults of young women, the traumatization of young men, the criminalization and stigmatization of people of color, and these institutions collectively, individually as institutions and then collectively as institutions, have led to the creating of a climate, or have created a climate together that has brought out white vigilantes such as Kyle Bevers and Marge Bevers, who own the building which the subway downtown is located in. These white vigilantes came down just only 2.5 weeks ago with multiple gallons of water and a power washer in an attempt to wash away messages about police terrorism, racial injustice, and mass incarceration that were written in chalk. Primarily, these messages were memorials for young people, for people of color, and for people in general who have been victims of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. When they came down here with that power washer and that water, Kyle and Marge Bevers, the white vigilantes, they also assaulted. This is the same dude right here. With the vest on right here. They also assaulted multiple people. Not multiple people. Kyle and Marge Bevers also assaulted a member of the May 30th Alliance when they came down here with this power washer. And these people this is not the first set of white vigilantes, and it won't be the last set of white vigilantes who come out here in an effort to power wash. What's up, my man?
Not much.
What's up?
Respect.
Oh, for sure. Appreciate it. Oh, yeah, appreciate it, man. No, for real. Thank you. Thank you.
I respect that.
We appreciate it.
Do what you got to do.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate it.
No matter what.
Appreciate it, for real.
Stand on that.
Yep. You have a good night, man. For real. Take it easy. Be safe. Thank you. And so they've created people like that. They've created people like Simon, the maintenance man, created a climate where people like Simon, the maintenance man, lies on no stalking court order papers to criminalize and stigmatize members of the May 30th Alliance, and lying about actions that they've done, and lying about the nature of their character. Again, in an attempt to vilify us, creating the culture and the climate in which racist white people would feel it's okay to do harm to people protesting, in which Uncle Tom Negroes would feel as if it's all right to do harm to people who are protesting. So even if the police department as an institution themselves did not set this up or conspire for this to happen, they have created a climate in which somebody feels comfortable to enact this type of violence, or to try to attempt to what's the word I'm looking for? Attempt to enact this type of violence. The city of Rockford government may not be conspiring and colluding directly in this shooting, but they have created the climate in which someone will feel comfortable to enact the type of violence that was displayed in this shooting. And again, for people as myself and people as other members of this organization and other community members who have had ties to this organization, it is very difficult for us to believe that this is some mere coincidence, that all of these things just happen to line up this way. And thankfully we have this on camera and filmed, because if we did not, then we will be seeing a litany of assassinations to our integrity, and assassinations to our character, based off the duplicitousness of what it is the city is saying, what it is the Rockford Police Department is saying, the lack of transparency that is being put out there. And so, just like many other victims of violence in this community, in this city, you learn very quickly that the institutions that exist here, they exist here to uphold the status quo. They do not exist here in an effort to keep the community safe, or exist here in an effort to make the community safer. Because if they did, then we would have seen them put the type of effort towards this shooting crime scene as they put towards the chalk crime scene, or as they put towards the crime scene of the memorials that they come to tear down. Again, or the crime scene of people walking on the crosswalk. But because we have seen the hypocrisies and how they treat these different things, it is, again, another reminder of what this institution exists for. And again, we have to get away from this Americanized, propagandized understanding of the police department as some type of superheroes or some type of these characters on TV shows that always get the right guy and that always do the right thing and things of this nature. That is not what exists here. That is not what is here. The truth of the matter is that most violent crimes, the departments and the institutions in the city don't care about solving or doing anything about, because they have found ways to profit off most violent crimes, because they have found ways to profit off victims of violence. They have found ways to profit off the perpetuating of people enacting violence. And so these are all things that we must keep in mind as we wage this struggle to end police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. We must understand that the people who are most deeply affected by police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice are affected by it, affected on it on a physical level, on a psychological level, on a mental level, on an emotional level. And we must understand that in an effort to wage the struggle against those things, that we will have things that attack us on a physical level, on a mental level, on an emotional level, and on a psychological level. And we must be willing and capable to persevere through those things. We are at the very beginning. We are at the beginning of a marathon. We are not at the end of a sprint. And we must keep that in mind through all the ups and downs and through all the turmoil that exists. So I want to also say that on Sunday we will be at the Justice Center holding a rally against fear. At this rally against fear, we will point out, as we come close up to a year of the occupation of City Hall, we'll have multiple speakers, and we will just highlight why it is a need to rally against fear, why it is a need to not allow ourselves to succumb to fear, but why it is also a need for us to know what fear is, for us to know what fear feels like, so we can know that is the only way to know what courage is. So this was also Friday, so City Market took place earlier today. I was not at City Market. I have a no contact order with the City Market. There's 24 hours with the inside of City Market, and I have a no contact order that is from 1 to 10 on Fridays with the City Market permit area. So I was not at City Market, but the City Market campaign, the Boycott City Market campaign, continues through another week as we come up on the end of the second. As we get ready to come up on the end of the second season of the our City Market protest campaign, with the understanding that there will be a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth season, and on and on. We are in a place where we can compare and contrast the things that have happened this year in the City Market campaign and things that have happened last year, and also compare and contrast where the struggle that we are waging stands from this year and last year. So that is something that is, I think, is important for us to note and highlight. It should also be stated that there's 3 more City Markets left. They're each Friday for the rest of this September. So anybody who has not participated in the City Market protest as of yet, you still have 3 more Fridays to come out and to participate. I implore anybody who does not understand why we are protesting at City Market to go through the plethora of videos that is on the May 30th Alliance Facebook page concerning that. I would implore you to go to the We Demand Facebook page and watch the multitude of videos that are on their page explaining that as well. These videos can also be found on YouTube, and on some content is on Instagram and on Twitter as well. So I will also, I'm here with Kay, fellow member of the May 30th Alliance. He has been with the May 30th Alliance since its inception in 2020. So I will ask Kay, what are some of your thoughts on the things that we have experienced as an organization in this past week? And what are some of your thoughts about City Market that just took place today?
I'll deal with those questions in the order that you gave them. Uh, as far as experiencing, uh, as far as what my take on what we've experienced in Rockford over the last year, I think it's abundantly clear that the pushback, the anger, even the racism that is directed at us, they're not these things done to us were not created by us. In my opinion, they just manifested themselves because they were already lying under the surface. So I don't feel like we've created a level of racism in Rockford, or that we've created a level of animosity towards black people or towards black men. I feel it's just manifesting itself. It's coming out. So what was under the surface is being provoked through a genuine stance, and the response is a direct response to the pressure to provoke a response.
Yes.
We can't control the response that anyone has, but
it's not our responsibility.
Exactly. But when you look at what's coming out of Rockford, I feel it's something that people know is there, but they don't discuss it. And I feel like even with the white demographic in Rockford, they know that there's a perpetuated level of racism that weaves Rockford together on a political level and also on a social level. You can't have one of the worst education systems here in America, very clearly divided on lines of race, but then have a society after you have a federal case, where you have a society that's still okay with the notion and the concept of, well, let's just keep it the way it was. There's a status quo here. My perspective of what I've seen is, I've seen the veil of just the surface level day-to-day operations of people. I've seen that get stripped back based on them showing a deeper depth to their emotions, their ideas, their ideology. They're just letting it be known, and that's definitely first and foremost. Now, as far as City Market today, there were multiple incidents where that was very, very much in the forefront. There were multiple vehicles that didn't follow any of the rules of the road regarding a crosswalk. There were people that were going through the crosswalk 10, 15 miles an hour. They never stopped, never intended to stop, didn't care to stop, weren't trying to stop. They literally, you could see they were driving through at a certain rate of speed, and they didn't look to the left or right. I'm staring right at their face, and they're just hand on the steering wheel, just looking straight ahead like, hey, I'm getting through this one way or another. It was reckless. And it wasn't just one car. It was about 4 of them did that at different times. Personally, I had an altercation where a couple was in a vehicle, and the girl, because someone was walking through the crosswalk, the car had to temporarily stop. No major inconvenience whatsoever. No one touched the vehicle. No one spat on the vehicle. No one threw anything on the vehicle. It wasn't even that type of circumstance. She's getting more and more agitated within moments. I mean, this is within moments. This was not a long period of time. Within moments. And then she says, is this what we're doing now? Is this what we're doing now? And then immediately I look at her and I said, yes, this is what we're doing now. When you have police gunning down unarmed black men in Rockford on multiple occasions, yes, this is exactly what we're doing now. And then she looked over at me and she didn't say anything. And then I kept repeating it. Until they went through the intersection. Because it's amazing how people are so focused on their personal comfort and take no regard to the lack of comfort of the person standing right next to them. To literally focus so heavily on their own comfort that the person standing next to them can be completely uncomfortable. But that's not their concern, and that's not the variable of the circumstance. They're so heavily focused on their own comfort that that's all that matters. That's all that matters. There was another incident with a family. It was an entire family. And the husband walks by, and he turns, and I'm just waiting for his response. He walks by, his wife's holding his hand, his kids are walking, and then he turns and says, "This isn't nonviolent. This isn't nonviolent. This is supposed to be nonviolent." Yet again, I look at another situation. I look at him and I said, "So you mean to tell me the police shooting unarmed minorities is nonviolent?" I said, "So you want to deal with us and talk about peaceful?" This is what he said. Peaceful. He said, "This isn't peaceful." And I said, "So is it peaceful when the police are shooting black men in the back? Is it peaceful when they're shooting minorities in the back? Is it peaceful when you have officers killing unarmed people in the streets of this city? Is that peaceful? Is that peaceful?" And his wife she pulls his arm tight, like, "Please don't respond." And he spins around and he looks at me. And I said, "Is that peaceful?" And then he just huffs and he spins back around and he gets in the car. It's amazing. Again, it's amazing how focused people get caught up in their own feelings of comfort. And as long as they feel comfortable, but don't take the time to understand if the circumstance is uncomfortable, seek out why someone else is not in comfort. There's a reason for everything. And I feel like this is a broader stance. What we're dealing with in City Market is indicative of a city that is so focused. It's by and large, on because of white supremacy, and it's how prevalent it is in the everyday function of Rockford, knowingly and willingly. That it's that the overall concern is, I feel fine, and that's all that matters. I'm comfortable with the situation, so that's all that matters. You have to deal with how you feel, because that's not important. What's important is how I feel, and I feel fine. And I feel like that's an overarching. That's the context of the city we live in.
Yeah, and again, that's been a commonality with the City Market campaign and with the City Market protest, is that it is a wide demographic of people who are in the area of downtown Rockford on Friday. Now, again, that demographic is predominantly white. Excuse me, predominantly white. It's predominantly white people who are in the area. But when I say demographic, I mean more of political belief and ideological belief, not so much of just appearance or nationality or ethnicity. And I think that that's one of the most important parts of being at City Market, is that there may be people who don't know that this is going on, that these protests are going on, that these demonstrations are going on. There may be people who don't know about the police terrorism and mass incarceration and racial injustice that is rampant in this city, because the reason that it is as rampant as it is because it operates from a covertness that is, as Kay said, is veiled veiled. And until that veil is pulled away and until that covertness becomes an overtness, we will never be able to truly and properly deal with the issue and with the problem, because so many people don't realize that it is an issue and a problem. And again, our job begins with bringing awareness to it. And so in bringing awareness, that is a polarizing action. It's polarizing when you have to find ways to polarizing when you have to try to find ways to make people aware of something that they are so used to ignoring, or they are so used to not noticing, or they are so used to just sort of pushing to the periphery of their mind. Colin Kaepernick did it through kneeling. We have had the Black Panthers did it with bringing weapons to the state legislature. Dr. King did it with marches in racist southern counties, and there's been again a plethora of ways that different activists and different individuals and different organizations have found to bring awareness to an issue or to a ill of the society. Again, especially when it has been people in the struggle for Black liberation and the struggle to end white supremacy and things that are the offsprings of white supremacy. And so we as an organization have decided to do that through bring that awareness through walking on crosswalks at City Market. We have decided to bring that awareness through having megaphones and amplifying our voices as we speak about the struggle to end police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. We have decided to do that through commentating about the political activity that goes on in the city of Rockford, Illinois, and Winnebago County on Facebook Live videos, on YouTube videos, on Twitter, and on Instagram, and through podcasts. We have decided to bring awareness to that through reading literature and commentating on that literature, and having dialogue on that literature with the members of the community. We have decided to raise that awareness through using chalk on the public sidewalks to write messages about police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. We have done that through brought that awareness through putting memorials up on the light poles in downtown Rockford, Illinois, an area that multiple mayors have called the heart of the city, in an effort to show people the scars that are left in the heart of the communities in which these people have been murdered in. We have brought that awareness through being outside of City Hall for close to 365 days, as we are on day 337, I believe, tonight, as the clock has struck midnight. And those are all actions we have done in an effort to bring awareness. Now, we have continued those actions in an effort to change the consciousness of the community. And I think that is something that is very important to point out, as I know that we have new viewers and we have new people who are paying attention and watching these things based on some of the things that have taken place this week with the shooting, which at this point we still do not feel comfortable not calling an assassination attempt. We will need more proof. We will need more evidence, and we will not be looking for. We will not look for answers from the institutions which have been responsible for putting our lives in jeopardy and putting our lives in danger. We will look for those answers from community members. We will look for those answers from investigating and looking into these things ourselves, as we were. Again, victims in this situation. We have every right to find out, and we have every right to. We should have every right to have access to any information and any evidence surrounding these things. But again, because there are new people here that are watching these things, I do want to point out that the continuing of each of those actions I pointed out, whether the walking on the crosswalk, the megaphones, the chalk, the occupation, the continuing of those actions to the point in which it becomes a regularity in the city of Rockford, a regularity in the community, that is the altering of the consciousness. That is the changing of the consciousness. The continuing of raising our voices, the continuing of advocating and championing these issues, that is the altering of the consciousness. The consciousness cannot be altered through one action done by itself. The consciousness being altered is like creating a habit. That is what we are doing. We are creating a habit in this city, so that way when someone deals with police terrorism, the habit for the community is to react. The habit for the community is to be in solidarity. When someone deals with the struggles of mass incarceration, the habit is to react. The habit is to be in solidarity. When racial injustice occurs, the habit is to react. The habit is to be in solidarity. But habits must be created. In 337 days is not enough time to create a habit in a community. 337 days is not enough time to create a true altering of the consciousness. It's enough time to bring awareness and to change the awareness, and it's enough time to sow the seeds of changing the consciousness. But those seeds must be watered and those seeds must grow. And as we water and grow those seeds, we must understand that there will be people who have a desire to cut those trees down. And it is our responsibility and it is our duty to be the guardians of those trees, to be the guardians of this struggle, to be the guardians of this community, and to be the guardians of future generations, to make sure that we give future generations the type of mentality that they will need, the type of fortitude that they will need to continue this struggle past where we take it. And so those are all the reasons why the occupation of City Hall must continue through this. Those are all the reasons that the city market campaigns must continue through this. I know that there are some people who feel that maybe after this shooting that we should pack up shop and we should go home and we should reevaluate. I would like to tell those people that we are constantly reevaluating. It is not a way that you can be out here in the type of elements as you can see now. Kay has on a couple extra layers. I got on a extra layer. We are getting ready to this last week. The evenings and the nights and the early mornings have been in the 50-degree weather place. We are slowly getting to the end of summer and the beginning of fall. And so as the weather begins to change, it is impossible to not reevaluate going through the type of fall and winter that we have just went through the last year. But in that reevaluation, what comes to the forefront of the consciousness is that on October 2nd, we will be reminded why we came out here. Is that shortly after on that week, we will be reminded why we are here when the trial is held for the Metro agents that murdered Jovan Fresco. And we must return to the Justice Center again, the scene of the attempted assassination, to host another commentation on the trial. We will be reminded again why we were here when we come up on the end of November and we pass the 1-year anniversary of the justification of the attempted murder of an unarmed black man in Tyrus Jones. We will be reminded again January 5th, 2021. That will be another reevaluation when we are reminded when Denzel Duvant mercilessly was assaulted and almost had his life robbed from him at the hands of crooked, racist, bloodthirsty police officers in the city of Rockford, Illinois. We will be reminded again, and we will reevaluate again on April 10th. When we come up on the 1-year anniversary of Faustin Guaitigo, on April 11th, when it's the 1-year anniversary of Jose Gonzalez Jr. being shot. And again, all of those reevaluations come separate from the fact that it is inevitable that another macroaggression of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice will take place in this city before long. We sit here waiting for the justification of the shooting of Jose Gonzalez Jr. to come down. We expect that to come down next Thursday. We sit here waiting for the justification of the high-speed pursuit that robbed Raymond Jackson of his life to come down. And so again, we must understand the type of Goliath that we are up against in the Rockford Police Department. A police department that since 1990 has had more than 50 incidents of in-custody deaths or officer-involved shootings take place. More than 50 incidents since 1990. And each incident has been justified. Not a single officer has ever been held accountable for murdering citizens of this community. That averages out to 2 times a year, more than twice a year. And in 2021, we sit with Denzel Duvant in January, Faustin Guaitigo in April, Jose Gonzalez Jr. in April, and Raymond Jackson in April. 4 acts of macro aggressions of police, of terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. That is besides Officer Eric Thurman of the Rockford Police Department, who just pleaded to a disorderly conduct charge from a sexual assault charge, a sexual assault rape charge, was given 12 months of probation, in which in those 12 months he can no longer be a police department officer in the state of Illinois. But once those 12 months of probation are up, he is more than welcome to become a police department officer again in Illinois. That is the type of police department that exists here. He was on paid leave for the entirety of this investigation, which spanned over 14 months. 14 months, the taxpayers paid for a cop who raped somebody to sit at home, as another cop who has a similar charges also sits at home garnishing wages. It should be noted that all of those incidents of those 50 plus incidents since 1990, those at least two average on at least twice a year average of in custody deaths and officer involved shootings, taxpayers paid as the people who did those crimes sat at home and garnished wages and had their health insurance covered still and their dental insurance covered still. This is the type of monster, this is the type of Goliath that we are up against in the Rockford Police Department. And they are given cover by the city of Rockford. They are given cover by Mayor Tom McNamara. They are given cover by the alder people of Rockford, who sit quiet as members of this community are ravished by police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. This goes to the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies. Winnebago County Sheriff Deputy Gary Caruana, who changed the high-speed pursuit policy in this county when he was elected in 2015. He changed it in 2016, and 6 months within changing that high-speed pursuit policy, a high-speed pursuit would take place in Winnebago County that would lead to the death of Joy Lambert, when someone would be chased down by the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies at speeds upwards of 80 miles per hour on a busy street in the morning for speeding. And Joy Lambert would have a car collide with her and lose her life. And then the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies would wait 5 years before releasing that video footage of the high-speed pursuit to the public and to the family of Joy Lambert. 5 years. It was just this year, just a month ago, in which they released that video footage. An inhumane act, an unjust, corrupt act. What up, what up, what up? An unjust, corrupt act. And that is the type of institution that the Winnebago County Sheriff deputies are. Quadrupled. In the first year after the high-speed pursuit chase policy was changed by Gary Caruana, it quadrupled from 11 to 75. Putting tens of thousands of motorists at risk, tens of thousands of pedestrians at risk. So that way police officers can go out there and act like they're Vin Diesel in Fast 9. That is the type of institution that we are up against. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that these institutions were complicit in an assassination attempt of people who were bringing their skeletons out the closet. And again, these institutions are given cover by people like Winnebago County Board Chairman Chiarelli, who sits quiet when his Winnebago County Sheriff deputies lynch an African immigrant inside of his home, who sits quiet when the justification is given out by racist Winnebago County State's Attorney after Fausto Guaitigo was lynched inside of his home. Rockford is the most racist city in Illinois. The politicians here are the most racist in Illinois. It's a covert racism. But it's there. When you know how to see it, you know how to articulate it. You want something you want to say?
I just want to underscore your point by pointing out to the populace, it is not normal to champion a jail in the middle of your city. That is not a normal, that's a normality of Rockford. And I'm sure when people say it, they say, well, Chicago has a jail, and then they want to go on and just normalize it as if it's something normal, but it's not normal. It's not normal in the face of the policing that America has, the style, it has its own. It has something that's very unique to America that it has crafted and created. We have the largest prison population anywhere on the planet. It's not about reform. It's about longer sentences for nonviolent crimes. And to really look at the state of Rockford, people will fight tooth and nail and try to create scenarios and come up with reasons and excuses why having the Justice Center downtown is a great thing, and how the policing is necessary to the level that it is, where unarmed people are being killed. That there's such a strong emphasis of maintaining what Rockford has, that there's a protectiveness there, that people are so adamant to protect. And this is the violence that we face at City Market. This is the violence that we face in people's comments. This is a violence that we face when people attempt to become physical. It's not about the root reason of why we're out here. It's their response to protect what they know exists.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that by saying, again, one of the things in which exists is the image. They are, especially in when you know the type of neoliberals who are at the helm of the city of Rockford right now, the fast-forwarded gentrification process that they are enacting. You understand that they need the image of Rockford to be. They want the image of Rockford to be this hipster safe haven, this melting pot community, this diverse community, this diverse society. And so in the hopes to have those things, they can't have people highlighting and bringing awareness to the racism that exists here, the racism that has existed here historically. They can't have people highlighting the fact that they have a school here named after Thomas Jefferson, that they champion the Jefferson High School. They love Jefferson High School. Thomas Jefferson had upwards of 700 slaves. Thomas Jefferson not only raped his slaves, but his slaves bore his children, and he enslaved his own children. This is the type of man that they have a high school named after here. This is the type of man that they champion here. Abraham Lincoln has a middle school named here. Again, anybody who knows and it's a bust of Abraham Lincoln at the Winnebago County Courthouse. But anybody who understands history and knows history knows that Abraham Lincoln was a colonialist. Abraham Lincoln was a racist. He was a bigot. He said that if he could preserve the Union by keeping slavery, he would, and if he could preserve the Union by getting rid of slavery, he would. Abraham Lincoln, when he signed the Emancipation Proclamation that freed the slaves that were in the Confederate States. There were 4 states that were part of the Union, which still had slaves, that he did not emancipate, that he allowed to continue to have slaves. Again, Abraham Lincoln was not in favor of black people or the Africans who have been enslaved. He was not in favor of them having equal rights or having equitable rights or them having the same rights to life, liberty, and happiness, that pursuit of happiness that he believed him and men of his kind who were white should have. He believed that they should have a subservient existence, or that they should go back to Africa. All things that are not just, all things that are, my fault, y'all. All things that are not to be championed, all things that are not to be celebrated. Again, but they have a school named after this man. And the same thing, this is a city which is segregated. It's horribly segregated. This city has divested out of the areas of the city in which are predominantly black or predominantly brown. Again, and as you just pointed out, this city has invested, as it's divested though from those areas, it has invested into police terrorism. It has invested into mass incarceration. It has invested into perpetuating these evils. This city is invested in keeping people in the Winnebago County Justice Center. This city is invested in keeping its police department getting raises and getting increases and adding more police officers to the police department and getting higher weaponry and having more power at their disposal and being able to generate more revenue for the city. Because again, that is something that has to be pointed out. There is no basketball team here to generate revenue. There are no Broadway plays to generate revenue. There are no musicians coming here regularly performing to generate revenue. This city and this county generates revenue through the imprisoning of its community members, through the citations and the ticketing of its community members. And the community members that it predominantly does that to are people of color. The community members that it predominantly does that to are people in neighborhoods of poverty, people in working class neighborhoods. It is an exploitative county that we live in, an exploitative city that we live in. And there are no people who are in positions of power who are working to end that exploitation or working to end that oppression or working to end those evils. They are working to perpetuate them. They are working to give, they may put a few murals up downtown as window dressing. They may move the furniture around in the house, but they have no desire to clean the furniture, to lift up the couch cushions and get all the food that's been gathering underneath there, to move the chairs around and vacuum, to get all the dishes washed. It has no desire for that. Go ahead.
As the older generation would say, a deep cleaning.
Yes.
That's how my grandmother would say it. She said, when you clean, it's a deep cleaning. Yeah. Not the surface cleaning. Yeah. She said the deep cleaning is when you start pulling the furniture out and you get every nook and cranny. Yeah. Rockford is not ready for that conversation. Right. Rockford is digging in, is becoming very entrenched in embracing and protecting what exists without looking beyond it. And I will say this to those that are watching, and this is a bit of homework so that you can see how dire this is. Rockford's pension roll is growing at such an astronomically fast rate. Just picture the scenario of every year you have people retiring. Police officers, every year, retiring. City officials, every year. That increases the pension roll. So your taxpayer dollars goes towards taking care of these people. It's getting to a level now, the projection is so dire that almost 40 to 50% of it, I believe, if that number's off, I know it's going to, at some point they're projecting it will be close to that. That so much of the tax base will go towards pensions that they won't have the means to adequately take care of. They're projecting they won't have the means to adequately take care of Rockford. Now, look at the irony there. It's feeding itself. It's feeding back on itself and consuming itself.
And again, we highlight some of these financial or economic implications to make sure that we are just touching on some of the other effects of these things. Again, the root of these things is police terrorism. The root of these things are mass incarceration. The root of these things are racial injustice. And it has these roots have all type of branches that come off of it. And again, it is our responsibility and our duty to inform ourselves about all these different branches. It is our responsibility and duty to then be able to articulate about about these different branches in an effort for us all collectively to find out which branches can we work to chop down, which branches, and then as we each find the branches that we can work to chop down, we will begin to chop those branches down in coordination, and we will rid ourselves of this iteration of police terrorism, mass incarceration, and racial injustice. And then because we understand that the struggle is not something that is completed. It is something that is enduring. It is something that is lasting. It will be incumbent upon the generation that comes after us to continue where we leave off. But it is our responsibility and it is our duty to pull and to carry this baton as far as we possibly can. And again, in an effort to do that, we must understand that this is bigger than any individual. I'm happy that all of us survived what took place on Tuesday. But it must be stated that we must build the type of mental fortitude that if someone did not survive what took place on Tuesday, that the struggle would survive it, that the movement would survive it, that the organization would survive it, that the community would survive it, because we have a much further way to go to get to the finish line. We have a much longer way to go to get to where we need to be at as a society, so that the generation after us is in a more humane city, in a more progressive city, in a more equitable city. And again, I don't know what things may come in the future. None of us know what is held in the future. But what we must know is that we will maintain through that we will push through that we will strive through whatever that is. And that's a decision each of us can make now, and each of us can put into practice every day in our personal lives and ideologically, by challenging ourselves ideologically regularly, by challenging adversity that we may face in our individual lives regularly, and then being able to bring that over to what it is that we are collectively struggling for, what it is that we are collectively waging. And so it is thankful that each of us in these 337 days, we have struggled individually outside of the occupation at City Hall, and we have struggled collectively inside the occupation at City Hall. And all of those struggles and all of that adversity came together, and it made it so that we survived what went on Tuesday. We were able to not only survive it, but we were able to commentate and articulate as it happened. We were able to, in the days that followed afterwards, give a clear and transparent view into our ideologies as an organization, into our fortitude as an organization, into our perseverance, and into our dedication as an organization. We came right back to home base at City Hall after these events took place and happened. We spoke about each piece of information that we got as these events took place and happened. We have allowed people, we have said what it is that we believe to have happened in our experiences. And we have allowed people to believe whatever it is that other people will believe. We cannot control that. But the only thing that we can do is we can highlight what it is that happened. We can highlight the reasons we can highlight the reasons that people may want to do us harm. We can highlight the times that harm has been done to us. And when we do those things, there are certain institutions and certain people that have been at the center of those things. So it is not out of the realm of possibility. It is not some far-fetched idea that the institutions that we have been struggling against were responsible for the events that took place on Tuesday in some manner. And again, nobody is sitting here saying that all 300 plus police officers in the Rockford Police Department were involved in what took place. Maybe it was some rogue team that was involved. Maybe it was a couple rogue officers. Maybe it was an affiliate of the police department. Maybe it was somebody who was a cop sympathizer. Maybe it was some Uncle Tom Negro. We don't know who it is. We don't know who it was. We don't know the circumstances. But what we do know is that a culture and a climate has been created by the Rockford Police Department, criminalizing and stigmatizing people who are for progression, as they are continuously being for regression or for maintaining the status quo. We know that the mayor of Rockford, Illinois, Tom McNamara, has been responsible for criminalization and stigmatization of people of color who are advocating for justice, who are advocating for liberty. And so if one of those bullets would have hit somebody, the blood would be on Tom McNamara's hands. The blood would be on ex-police chief Dan O'Shea's hands. The blood would be on the hands of new police chief Carla Redd. The blood would be on ex-police chief or ex-intern police chief Randy Burke. The blood would be on the hands of Kyle Saunders. All of these people who are either white supremacists, white nationalists, or apologists for white nationalism and white supremacy. All of these people who are benefited to their proximity to white supremacy and white nationalism, both financially, personally, and politically. The blood would be on all of their hands. Just as the people who have had their lives permanently altered as this struggle has been waged, that those ills and those evils are on the hands of all of those people that I named, and even more that I did not name. People like Kathy McDermott, Peter Provenzano, people like Todd Cagnoni, people who history will remember forever. The city of Rockford will remember forever. I should use the other hand. My fault. Forever. And that's one of the other things that should be pointed out about this week before we get into closing, because I do want to close this before the battery dies, so that way we can end it with our proper outro. One of the other things that has been displayed through the events of this week, is that the May 30th Alliance in Rockford, Illinois, and the Rockford Police Department are intertwined forever. And the Winnebago County Sheriff Deputies in the County of Winnebago intertwined forever, and this community intertwined forever. This is a piece of Rockford history that is permanent, that has been etched in stone. And as we continue, that piece will only grow. It will not go into reversal. We will become deeper ingrained in this society, in this community, in this city, and in this history forever. And all the people who have stood on the opposite side of us, they will be there. We will be remembered for that stance that they had. As we get ready to come up here onto a year, it has not been, it has been event after event that has unfolded, that has shown exactly why not only do we need to be here, but we must continue to be here. And so, again, I want to make sure that I am being as fully transparent as possible. The occupation shall continue because it must continue, and because it is bigger than any of us individually. So we're going to end this one how we do it. We're going to end it by saying rest in power to Mark Barmore, rest in power to Demetrius Bennett, rest in power to Kerry Blake, rest in power to Logan Bell, rest in power to Geno Washington, rest in power to Philip Johnson. Rest in power to Jasper Banks. Rest in power to Suzette Babler. Rest in power to Eddie Patterson. Rest in power to Mikey Guzman. Rest in power to Lil Mike Sago. Rest in power to Joseph McCormick. Rest in power to Shannon Graves. Rest in power to Faustin Guetigo. We outside.